Baby, can't you see I'm calling? A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous, I'm falling.
Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Folk People. My name is Maddie Leedham, and this evening we're bringing to you our first international artists of 2022. Venturing all the way to beautiful New York, we're joined by a sister duo who are the third generation in a family of musical big names. Their father and uncles made up the popular trio the Chapin Brothers, and their grandfather Jim Chapin was a very talented jazz musician. With such a strong musical background, this pair have managed to maintain their family's musical legacy, whilst also paving their own way and establishing a corner of the folk world that's uniquely their own. With 7 critically acclaimed album and EP releases, this pair have built up quite a reputation as songwriters. They've been described as blending dynamically complex vocal harmonies and folk-influenced melodies to dark, wryly sarcastic lyrical content. Not only this, the pair are masters at taking songs not typically regarded as folk and arranging them in a folk style. For example, their extremely popular rendition of Toxic by Britney Spears that's been streamed more than 5 million times on Spotify. They've embarked on numerous projects over the years. For example, an interest in harmony led them to study the Everly Brothers, which in turn led to their release in 2013 of an album called A Date with the Everly Brothers. This duo truly have achieved so much as folk musicians, and I'm really excited this evening to explore more about that. But I think now it's time that I introduce the Chapin Sisters and welcome them to our online studio. Hello, Abigail and Lily. How are you doing?
Hi,
How are you? We're
good.
doing great.
You're both tuning in from New York, is that right?
Yeah.
Different places in New York, yeah.
Big place.
Different parts of the Hudson Valley.
Oh, amazing. So very, very far away from us and our audience here in the UK. But one thing that, because we spoke before, just the three of us, and one thing I asked you if you'd visited the UK, which you said you had, and you said your favourite place was in Yorkshire. Have I got that right? Have I remembered that correctly?
We did really love Yorkshire, yes.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think it's
It
the
was
standard one that
beautiful.
people would say. I don't think they typically go Yorkshire. It's usually always London or something like that.
Oh,
So I just
yeah.
thought I'd let.
Well, we were big Bronte fans growing up.
I
We
see.
read a lot of, Catherine and Heathcliff and
Yeah.
Jane Eyre.
Right. And the moors and the landscape. And then I've been reading a lot of James Herriot to my daughter. So just like the, sheep and cows.
Which is
very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that your standard answer really isn't that. So it's really refreshing to hear. And I'm sure the people of Yorkshire, if there's anyone listening from there, is going to be really, really pleased to know that. So you've already won some people over. But fantastic. Should we go in for your first song so that people can really understand what your sound is and who we're talking to? And so the first song is called Palm Tree. Before we hear it, could either one of you, I don't know who's best to tell me, but one of you tell me about what this song is about and stuff.
Well, it's a far cry from Yorkshire. It's when we started out as a band, we were living in California, and this song was a take on life in Los Angeles and kind of the twists and turns of being a New York transplant in a land of sunshine and sort of the undersides of external beauty and the challenges of being far from home, but also kind of the languid, kind of restful quality of that type of trip.
Sorry,
why don't you run to me? Cross this empty beach, scrape the sand with your feet, and lean up against this tree where I'm swinging in the breeze, just out of reach. Oh, I'll be hanging in the leaves of this dusty old palm tree. If you're wandering after me, that's where I'll be, in this dusty palm tree. In this dusty palm tree. In this dusty palm tree.
What like a juicy ending there with that suspension that then kind of goes and resolves. I just loved it. But the one thing I got from the song that I was honestly in awe of was not only do your voices blend together with that beautiful harmony, but also when you both play the guitar, it's like it's so together. That's the one word I can say. It's like you're one musical entity when you perform. I suppose that comes with being siblings, just that connection. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
No.
We've been playing together for a long time, so I guess that does, yeah.
Practice makes perfect. Yeah.
I guess so.
Let's explore now how like you guys came about, and obviously you are the Chapin Sisters. So as it's explained in your name, you are sisters, but you're not the first generation of folk musicians in your family, are you? You've got quite a folky family, really. Like your dad, he's quite big, isn't he? Who is your dad?
Our dad is named Tom Chapin. He is a folk singer. He does lots of things. He was on a TV show in the 70s, a children's TV show that was kind of like psychedelic kids. He actually filmed a whole season in England, but I don't think it was shown there. It was called Make-A-Wish. He does lots of kids music. He's done a lot of just all ages folk music, not specifically for kids. And he's been at it since the 60s, like the early 60s, when he and his brothers started as the Chapin Brothers when they were 11, 13, and 14 or something. So that was 60 something years ago, and he's still at it. So
Yeah.
if you think our music, we've been doing it a long time, you should hear him play the guitar.
So you guys really are like rooted as a family. You're rooted in the folk tradition of the States, really.
Well, we are, but not only that, their father, was a jazz drummer. So they grew up in the 60s in New York City, so they were like in the folk scene, but they also had this other element, which was a big band mentality coming in, and their dad just played. We knew him. He was our grandfather. He died about 10 years ago. But he had his drum pad out and was doing paradiddles constantly. So they had that inspiration as well, of like serious music of a totally different genre, but that kind of practice mentality and just the joy of playing music, I think, comes from him.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I mean, your dad, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's Grammy winning as a songwriter, and your uncle was pretty big, Harry Chapin, and so like you've got quite a large or a difficult path to follow there, because obviously it's almost like you have to live up to that. But you started young, didn't you, as a pair performing music? Have I got that right?
Yeah, well, there have been chapters. When we were kids, our dad started making these records for children, and he needed kids choirs on the records. So we would get shuttled into the studio when we were 6 and 8 years old, and, singing in the kids choruses, and we'd bring our friends along. Our dad would say, "Can she sing in tune? Okay, she can come along," and then we would all get characters to play. And then when we started out professionally, in clubs and things as adults, just out of university, we performed with our other sister, Jessica, as a trio. And she had also done a lot of music as a teen and kind of professional around New York City. Our uncle Steve, who's the third member of the Chapin Brothers, at the time was doing all kinds of jingle writing, ad music like SpaghettiOs and stuff like that. And so Jessica was doing professional singing for him and all kinds of projects that our dad and uncles were involved with back then. So the three of us kind of got together and just got really enamored with 3-part harmony, because it was something that we had grown up doing. The other piece to the puzzle of our dad and his brother's musical influence was they were choir boys in an Episcopal church growing up, and they really loved the harmonic qualities of choir music. And so our uncle Steve really was a tough. He made sure we really learned our parts and he, in the arrangements of things when we were all singing together as a family, and we got pretty good at, you sing this part, and putting together these chords. And so when we started singing together out in California, we kind of just fell into a natural 3-part harmony style that we found we could apply to pop songs and folk songs and really anything we wanted to. And that was what jumped us into going out and playing clubs. And we thought everybody could do that, so we weren't that impressed with ourselves, but we started doing it and realized that there weren't that many other people doing that at the time.
Yeah. So why, seeing as you've been performing pretty much all your lives, why did it take for you to move to the other side of the country, to California, to actually begin the Chapin Sisters, a band of your own? Was it a case of you were just missing the family music and decided to make it yourselves, or was there another reason?
I think it was a kind of combination of all of it. Lily and Jessica, our other sister, were both living in California for unrelated reasons. Lily was like sort of dipping her toe into the film business, and Jessica was also. She was working as a screenwriter. And I was living in New York, and our family's in New York. And I went to visit them, and we sort of like just... Our brother had heard us sing for the first time, even though he was our brother. He'd heard us sing for the first time at like a random little one of our dad's concerts. And he sort of was the one who had the inspiration. He was like, "You should make a recording. You should do it." And he had a bunch of friends who had access to studios, and one of them, Michael Fitzpatrick, who's now pretty well known, and Fits in the Tantrums is his band. But at the time, he was doing commercial music as well. He took us into the studio, and we spent a couple days arranging some covers, and we went in with him. And so I think because it was like on our own terms and it was fun, it was just sort of, we didn't think like, oh, we're starting a band now. We just thought this is like a fun weekend project. And then another friend gave the recordings to our local LA indie rock radio station, NPR station called KCRW, and they started playing them. And then we suddenly realized like, oh, people are interested in this, and this is fun. And actually the song, one of the songs that we recorded for this, Toxic, was the first song that got played. So, but I think that, yeah, being on our own terms, being away from sort of the family business and sort of doing it in this complete, like coming at it from a completely different angle, all of those things kind of coalesced, and we realized that this was something that wasn't just like the family business that we felt like we had to follow, and it was something that we wanted to do on our own.
Yeah.
just on our own terms and from our own different perspective.
Yeah, it's like you needed the freedom to discover your own sound and
Yeah.
to become your own musicians, and rather than, as you said, the family business, which, if I could just say, folk music as a family business, just, it's amazing. I mean, I think people would dream for having family businesses like that. But even then, there can be so much pressure from like having to follow people's footsteps and stuff, that being able to go off and do your own thing definitely helps, in my personal opinion. And did you find that once you'd found your own way as your own musicians, that you gravitated back towards the family business?
Yeah, it took us a little while to get there, but yeah, it's like sometimes you have to go away to come back, and it gave us an entry point into the world we'd always kind of been around but not really understood. I think it gave us the opportunity to really research who these people were that we'd been kind of around, and why they were important and what they had lived through, and a big part of that coming around to was the activism associated with folk music and the political the integration of politics and music, and the sort of understanding that the people who were doing this were not doing it many of them were not doing it for the reasons that a lot of people become musicians. Some of them were in it for the glory or the fame or the girls or the boys or whatever, but some of them were really trying to, they were singing songs at protest marches, and they were giving up their platforms as money-making machines for record labels in favor of a life that was a bit more humble but more meaningful to them. Like Pete Seeger, who's a great hero of our dad's, lived in the Hudson Valley, which is where we live, right along the big, beautiful Hudson River. And the Hudson River feeds into New York Harbor, which is, one of the biggest ports in the world. And for many, many years, the Hudson River was just very polluted. And Pete Seeger spent much of his life working and fighting to clean up the river. And that was his great love and legacy. And he was blacklisted, and they stopped playing his songs on the radio during the McCarthy era because he was a member of the Communist Party, and he followed his convictions. He didn't say, "Oh, I need to get in line so that I can keep making the money for the record label." He did what he knew was right, and his wife Toshi, also a great activist. And there are a lot of people like that we grew up around, and knowing their legacies, but kind of seeing it from the side of making your own choices and your own path as a musician. And we have had the temptation, of fancy Hollywood people dangling a carrot to tell us, you can have this, or you can see your name in lights. And, these choices come along. So we had some examples of people who used music as a tool for the things they wanted to fight for and believed in. And that was really an interesting thing to come back to and honor and admire in the people that we had been around and to be grateful for.
And so would you say that's definitely something that you two identify as musicians, is being more humble and being about the music rather than that corporate, the money, the fame, all that? Is that definitely where you'd say you stand? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I hesitate to like compare myself to Pete Seeger, but I do think that whether it was conscious or not, we have shied away from some opportunities that came our way that sort of that seem maybe in retrospect like, oh, that was the moment that we could have, broken big or had our star-making turn. But really, the choices we made and continue to make our choices about that are really about who we are and what we want to be and how we want to live our lives. And every choice you make leads to the next and to the next. So it's hard to see each one individually, but I do think that when looking back on our career thus far, like, we have stayed true to who we are and as people and who we want to be. And there's always a lot that you can improve on. And I hope to be able to just continue to do that while also having the privilege. I mean, we don't have a huge audience all the time, but we do have a little bit of a platform, and that is something to be very grateful for.
I think that's really brilliant, and that's given us a lot of insight into sort of your values as a band. And so I think now we should probably listen to a bit more music. Our next song we have is actually one that kind of explores or goes back to the past when you were younger in the music scene, and probably a bit more new to it, I suppose, in a way. I don't know about timelines and stuff, so I don't know if this is, but this song is While You're Cheating on Me. Can you tell us a little bit about this song and the recording as well, I suppose, because that it does date back. Was it 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. 9, something. It's actually a song we did a covers record of Everly Brothers songs, and this is not an Everly Brothers song. But while researching the Everly Brothers and doing a lot of Everly Brothers songs, we ended up falling in love also with the Louvin Brothers. Now, as Lily mentioned earlier, we started out as a trio with our sister Jessica, and so everything was 3-part harmony. And when she left the band, she's quite a bit older than us. She had a kid 12 years ago now, and that at that point she sort of stepped back from our project, and so we were at a loss of how to be a 2-person band, and so we got really interested in the Everly Brothers because they had a perfect combo of 2-part harmony, and then went down the rabbit hole of all sibling 2-part bands that we could find, and this is the Louvin Brothers, and we just love this song.
I'm praying for you, for I still believe someday you'll be true. You reap what you sow, I know. Those words are so true. For when you were faithful to me, I cheated on you.
what an amazing song. And I mean, you guys haven't changed in 10 years. The hair's been cut, but that's about it. And one thing with that song, again, is the harmonies. You've got the classic sibling harmonies that are just so together. It's amazing. Absolutely beautiful. And quite a funny song. So I wanted to now explore your music properly, and I thought it would be a great place to start at the beginning and almost at one of your most successful endeavors, which was when you decided to do your first EP, which involved Toxic from Britney Spears, which when I heard that you guys did that, I was like, that is just the most random repertoire or the most random song for a folk musician to do. Why did you choose to perform Toxic?
Well, it was the most played song at the moment. It was on the radio. It was on MTV. It was in the zeitgeist of that moment in time.
I was working, as I said, I was living in New York at the time, but my job right out of college was I was working as a costumer for a Nickelodeon show. Nickelodeon is the like MTV Kids network, and so it's all in the same building as MTV. And it was at the time when like TRL, I don't know if all of this translated over to the UK. There was a daily show called TRL, Total Request Live, on MTV, and it was still a huge deal. Like terrestrial TV was still the main thing, and so we shot. Our show was a live show on the Nickelodeon channel, but we shot on one floor, and it was this huge building in Times Square. And we shot on one floor, but our costume room was on a different floor. And to get from one to the other, you had to go down to the lobby and then to a different elevator bank and back up. And in all of those places, they were always playing MTV, like a live stream of MTV just on silent. So you could just see the videos, and Toxic was the video that was on all the time. Like just at that particular moment, it was just constantly on. And so when we were thinking about songs, it was just in our heads. Like it was in my head because I was in that world constantly, and we all knew it because it was on the radio all the time. And it just sort of, it just was like a funny idea. And then when we stripped it down, we realized that it's an amazing song. Like it's an amazing folk song, actually.
Was it not super intimidating? That's what I would think. If someone gave me Toxic and said, turn that into a folk song, I'd be like, I just genuinely don't even know where to start or how to do it. But you guys managed it. But was it ever like, oh no, this is too hard?
I don't remember that. I don't remember feeling that. I think we were kind of like, sometimes when you don't know what you don't know, it's kind of better. Like we just were like, okay, let's try this. And we weren't,
it was that
we had any platform. Mind. We didn't have no one was interested in hearing what we were making. So we just kind of like, just did it for fun.
And when you finished Toxic and released it, it was really successful, wasn't it? What kind of reaction did you see?
Well, it's still by far, I think, our most played song. It's on Spotify. It's on a lot of like acoustic cover mixes and things like that. It's exponentially more popular than our original music for now. But
although I will say somebody copied our version of it.
Oh,
that one has replaced ours on all the acoustic cover playlists, which is fine. I mean, it's annoying, but it's life.
Yeah, ours was early. It was early in the days of acoustic covers. It was before like everyone else did their Britney Spears covers. So, and it was a little pre-internet virality. Like we got the closest we came to like going viral, because it just didn't really exist, was that now I'm gonna
Perez Hilton.
Oh, Perez Hilton, who is now having another moment where he's feeling really bad, because now that everyone is pro Britney Spears, he's feeling bad about how mean he was to her. But he had a very popular blog, for anyone who doesn't know, an extremely popular blog, and he posted about our song and linked to our website, and got so many hits to our website that it crashed the server. Not just our website, but the whole server.
Oh my God.
So that was, I mean, it was funny, but then it didn't. But then our server had crashed, so in the
And
end,
we
it
didn't
didn't
have
actually.
anything for sale.
We didn't
at
have
the time.
any.
We
Yeah,
didn't have. Yeah.
there's
We weren't
no way to
ready for this.
monetize.
No.
Yeah, because wasn't it just a bit of fun, really, that just
Yeah.
blew
And
up?
it started getting played on KCRW, which was our local indie rock radio station, and then it got picked up by other ones around the country, and yeah, but we didn't have an album, we didn't have anything. Like, we barely had a website. Our friend threw up a website, but we didn't have any shows, we didn't have anything. So it kind of was like a little bit of success early, and then but it's still, I mean, it's still such a great song, and it's fun to play, and it's
Agreed.
and we're feeling happy that Brittany is finally having like a positive moment in her life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
It's only been 15 years. Yeah.
But that wasn't the only like popular song that you turned into like a folk style song. Was it? You did others. Can you tell us what other songs you've done in that way?
We've done so many. We did Madonna song. We did Culture Club. We did Soundgarden. I mean, these are all, songs from the 1980s, 1990s, the 70s. The thing that happened to us is we got a lot of attention for our covers, and then we decided we wanted to write songs. This is kind of how we've skirted popularity. Whenever we do something that people want us to do, we start doing something else. We had people who wanted us to do give us a record deal to record covers, and we were like, we're going to be songwriters instead. It's just sort of how our life, it's the comedy of being the Chapin sisters, I guess. But we wanted to be songwriters, and so we just did a deep dive into songwriting, using the experience of singing the covers as kind of a study in what makes a song, so that we could practice writing songs ourselves.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I think we should actually hear Toxic now, because we've spoken so much about it and it really is great. I bet the audience are dying to hear it for themselves. So we obviously know what this is about. We know everything. So let's just go straight in and hear Toxic.
Baby, can't you see I'm calling? A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous, I'm falling. There's no escape, I can't hide. I need a hit, baby, give me it. It's dangerous, I'm loving it. Taste of your lips, I'm on a ride. You're toxic, I'm slipping under. Taste of your poison paradise. I'm addicted to you, but you know that you're toxic. And I love what you do, but you know that you're toxic. Getting late to give it up. I took a sip from your devil cup. Slowly, it's taking over me. Too high, can't come down. It's in the air and it's all around. Can you feel me now? With a taste of your lips, I'm on a ride. You're toxic, I'm slipping under. Taste of what you do, but you know that you're toxic. I'm addicted to you, but you know that you're toxic. Intoxicate me now, you're gonna love it now. I think I'm ready now, I think I'm ready now. Intoxicate me now, I think I'm ready now. You're gonna love it now, you're gonna love it now. Intoxicate me now, I think I'm ready now. I think I'm ready now, I think I'm ready now.
I mean, isn't that just amazing and insanely innovative? The fact that you can hear this song, which is, it's so poppy, it's like the epitome of pop music, and you've turned it into this beautiful folk song, almost in the harmonies, and the way that you've just interpreted the whole thing is amazing. And I kind of wanted to ask, like, why have you done that, and why have you done it with other songs? Why do you want to translate pop music into like the folk idiom?
Well, our most natural performance style is the folk idiom. Like that's what we are able to do. Like that's just our natural sort of what we fall into. But we have very, very diverse musical taste. We like to listen to lots of different things, and sometimes that inspires you to sing those songs. And it would not be really. I mean, I guess we could like do a Britney Spears cover in the style of Britney Spears, but it wouldn't really be true to us. So I think that's sort of how we've fallen into it, and it's just fun. Like it's also, as Lily was saying kind of before the song, like it's just also interesting as a craftsperson to see, you hear songs that are extremely popular or that are extremely catchy or that you like a lot, and you sort of think like, now how did they do that? Like what makes this song so great? And it's just an interesting way of deconstructing it for ourselves to sort of hear that.
I think I really like the idea that you've just said, that you want to interpret the song that's true to you in your style, because I isn't that like what folk music is? It's, you don't recreate someone else's song. If it's like a traditional song, for example, you take that traditional song and you do it in your own way, and so you've got all these different versions that everybody's kind of projected themselves onto it, and I guess that's what you're doing by taking Toxic, and yet it's not a traditional song. But actually, I was speaking to someone recently about what is folk music, and they suggested that it's something that has been sung for years by people. And at this point, I feel like Toxic could count, if that's how we go. That's
Yeah,
how we define it.
absolutely.
Yeah. And you guys have just
I
given it
mean,
a folky sound.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we don't have the oral tradition anymore now that we have recordings, and the oral tradition is totally changed. But as close as anything is to folk music of current day, pop music is that. It's
Yeah.
like what the people know, what everybody knows.
Yeah. And obviously, as you said, that was your first kind of releases, and then you did decide to focus on your songwriting. And is it something like, with just your own songwriting, 5 releases, 5 albums and stuff that you've released? Because there's 7 in total, if I've
Yes,
got that
I
correct.
think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what kind of subjects do you tend to explore in your own songwriting?
Whatever comes our way. I mean, it's kind of like just mining the subconscious and trying to make a little bit of sense out of it for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different now. I mean, we're in very different life phases than we were when we were starting out. Now we both have families and young children, and so writing songs now feels very different in terms of the subject matter that we're mining. But yeah, it's hard for me personally to set out to write a song about a subject. Like they sort of come as they come, and so a lot of songs just end up being, who knows what they're about. Like they don't have a specific story behind them, but they find truth just in how they come out. Like they come from an experience or a a thought or a feeling and then sort of find a truth of their own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I read somewhere that your lyric writing is described as dark and wryly sarcastic. Is that something that you aim for when you do it, or does it just happen?
I think that just happens. I think that's sort of our, maybe that's just our sense of humor a little bit also. And especially when we were starting out, I think that that's more true for some of our earlier songs. And also, I think that comes a little bit from not taking like the sad lyrics of a heartbreak song too seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's just how we are.
Yeah. And with regards to the actual songwriting process, is it quite an even task? Do you both write, or is there one of you who writes predominantly?
We both write.
That's changed over time. At the beginning, Abigail was writing more, I would say, and then and our sister Jessica was contributing to the writing, and I was starting out on my first songs writing, and now it's just the two of us, and we kind of bring songs to each other, and generally it's pretty even, but sort of depends on what we bring to the table, but we try to each have us sort of bring a certain number of songs to each other and then workshop them until they feel like they're our songs, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes they arrive fully complete, you know. Sometimes the other person doesn't touch it at all, but brings, you know, a harmony or a instrumental or a structural
arrangement
change or arrangement note to it that makes it a Chapin Sisters song as opposed to a solo project song. But sometimes we write together. It's kind of an evolving thing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, every song kind of is different. Yeah.
I think the best thing about being in a band is that, say one of you gets writer's block, you don't have to worry that much because you always have the other one to bring songs until you get inspired again. It's not gonna you're not gonna have a break, which is great. But yeah, you just mentioned solo projects. Do you both embark on separate solo projects, or is the Chapin Sisters your main musical focus?
That's our main musical focus.
No, not
yeah.
really. I mean, maybe one day, but no. We've both done other things, and we've done a lot of backup singing for other people, and we have songs that we've both written that have never been recorded anywhere. But no solo projects, at least on my plate right
I don't
now.
know. I don't know. It's possible for the future, but you know, life is busy, so
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes, we'll have to see.
Now, we are running out of time at the moment, so I've got one more question that I want to ask, and that is, what are your plans for the future?
Well, we're coming to the UK in the summer.
Oh, amazing.
So, yes. So, look out for that. We're going to do, I think, mostly just England. We're not making it to Scotland or Wales or Ireland. But we're doing like a full 2 weeks, kind of pretty packed. So
yeah, starting at the end of July.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the second 2 weeks in July.
Is it all over England? Are you going to be
all over? Really all over. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So maybe you can come see us.
Yeah, I wonder if we could post some of those dates somehow with the interview.
Yeah. We can get those out somewhere for people to see. We can put it on our website and things.
Yeah.
But that's actually amazing, because every time I interview an act over in the States, it's always like a case of everyone, you get to know them, but you don't tend to get to see them once in a blue moon. And here we go. Here's the opportunity to actually see you live. That's amazing. So really great news. Well, brilliant. I very much look forward to that. I'm definitely going to come and see you while you're here.
Okay.
But let's have your final song now. But before we do, I just want to say a huge thank you for joining me today and for chatting to me. It's been really amazing, and just to learn all about your musical lives and everything. It's been really brilliant. So thank you for that. And your final song is Don't Love You. Before we hear it, can you just tell us about this one? It's one of my absolute favourites, this one.
Oh, thank you. Well, this was written for our first album, actually, with our sister Jessica. And when she was in the band, she sang it. But then she and I wrote it together mostly. And so when she left the band, I inherited it. And it's one of my favorites too. She really wrote the lyrics, but it's about sort of protesting too much, about maybe like somebody that you don't love and that you're still in love with, but you're telling them how much you no longer love them, but maybe protesting too much.
If you see me out past midnight, if my eyes are glazed with starlight, if my lips are stained wine red, you might make me lose my head. I might smile or even kiss you, bat my eyes like I forgive you, but I don't know it's not me, it's the wine, oh don't you see? Oh my darling, I don't love you, and I'm not about to start. Don't adore you, won't die for you, not afraid you'll break my heart. La 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 la. You've been talking like I need you, like I'd do anything to keep you to myself. But that's not true, I hardly even think of you. If I call you when I'm lonely, please remember that it's only just a habit, it's not me. You're just easy, don't you see? Oh my darling, I don't love you, and I'm not about to start. Don't adore you, won't die for you, not afraid you'll break my heart. La 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 la. Oh la 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 la. And if you're thinking you might woo me, say you're truly mine, you'd soon see I'll just slip away like sand, running through your hands. If you see me out past midnight, and I whisper that I just might, oh remember, it's not me, 'cause I don't love you, don't you see? Oh my darling, I don't love you, and I'm not about to start. Don't adore you, won't die for you, not afraid you'll break my heart. Oh, la 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 la. Oh la 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 la. Oh la 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 la.
Thank you very much for watching. To find out more information about our future Tuesday Folk People sessions, please sign up to our mailing list or keep an eye on our social media and website. Our next session will be a week from today at 8 p.m. See you then.